All right, so next up is Oleg Abramov, otherwise known in the community as Max Lazar. Did a lot of expression engine add-ons over the years, so please welcome Oleg.
Thank you very much. Yeah, in real life, I'm not only a developer, I'm actually less developer than the project manager and the leader of the developer team. And most of my career, I work with the people, manage projects, build the teams, help them to grow, help the people grow. And today I would like to share of my experience, which I get for the last 15 years of my career, working with teams across the world. So the subject of today's topic is how to lead a remote team effectively. Jason Freitas, Basecamp founder, told that by allowing people to work remotely, you improve their quality of life and hire the best of the best, whatever they are. When it comes to hiring staff, an ability to think globally not only enhance your ability to find talent, but also prepare you to work in the global market. We live in really amazing time and working in really amazing industry. To build a high technology company, you don't need any offices anymore. All what you need is some knowledge, technology, and access to network. You can hire people from anywhere, from any spot on the planet, and you can also manage them from anywhere, from your house, from some coffee shop, from the beach in the tropical island. So just a question if you have enough connections to do this. The modern technology like instant messengers like Slack, video conference, collaboration tools, and all other stuff make it possible and do this easy. It's also make it easy for people who work for you, because studies show that people who work remotely, it's like 24% more happiness than other people who work in office. It also shows that team who have diversity in the background, location, culture, age, and other factors is actually also more productive than just a regular team. If you expand your radius for hiring and think creative, you can really increase your company value. Just thinking about that, if you support your customers for 24/7 and you have a global team in different time zones, you will not need to ask your team stay after hours or overnight to update some servers. I manage team who stay in 3 time zones with 8 hours difference. We was able to support our customers 24/7, updating their website out of business hours, and life of our employees was not become worse because of this. Or imagine that you can do developing same 24/7. Yes, for this you need to have some specific process. You need knowledge how to manage people to make it possible, how to build better relationships between them to make it possible. But it sounds like a really, really amazing power. So you can ask, what's the catch? And of course the catch exists. Managing team remotely is not the same as managing people in the office. It's why many other companies actually failed. It's why the big corporation still don't using it enough. And this is what gives you opportunities for small and middle-sized agency to use more benefits from hiring people remotely. The classic managers are really hard to manage people remotely because they don't see them. And when you don't see the people, you cannot feel them. One of the biggest feeling which manager could use is empathy, which you can use in face-to-face communications. On the distance, in most of the cases, it does not work. Or work, but it's actually asking more details to your procedure, to documentation, to everything. And what is most important is it's asking for more strong communications. You can not follow some procedure in the office. You don't need to follow your people. You can always catch your developer nearby coffee machine and asking, hey, how is everything going? How developing going? How deploy going? Is everything fine? And you can listen to him. You can read his emotion on his face and understand what exactly he's thinking. But you cannot do this with a person who is like in 8 hours time zone from you. It's really hard to do this. So what benefits we have from hiring people remotely? Of course, it's access to the global talent pool. In this case, you will don't need to be challenged. You need to have competitions from other global companies. As we just mentioned, not all global companies are ready to manage remote people, not ready to give them this freedom. You also get some cost savings. I'm not speaking right now about cost savings using the less salary. It not always works. It's actually for talent people, it actually does not work. But I will mention this a little bit later. More productive teams, lower employee turnover. It's like, again, 25% less. And 24/7 process, which I just tell what the benefits you can get. And from the beginning, I would like to tell what exactly I mean by what exactly is remote teams. So it exists 4 types of remote teams exist. Satellite teams. It's when you have a couple offices around the world or around the country and separate teams who work in each of these offices. Second is remote employees. It's when you have an office, you have team in office, but you also have people who work remotely. Full distributed teams, when you don't have office and all your people work remotely. And the second one, remote first, meaning when you still have an office, but all your procedure built in interest of remote people. So first 2 types is actually called hybrid teams. And it's pretty one of the complicated team to manage because you still have office. You still have impersonal communications. People still could discuss some topics after the meeting when they just go away from the meeting room to their workplace. They could chat when they drink a coffee or anything. And the problem is this, that first of all, the remote people will be not involved in this process. And the second issue, this information is only stay in the people's head. How you can know what decision other people did when they was in office? Information lost, and people who work remotely feel sad because they are not in the process. They could came to next meeting where everybody says that we will discuss something and we will take some decision together, but the decision was already made when people discuss something in office. So for the first 2 teams, you will need to have you need to follow really good, you need to build really good processes to compensate these issues. And as any process work with the people start from hiring process. Let's be true, not all people could work remotely. First of all, it's really hard to start work remotely if you're junior. To control junior positions remotely, it's a really big challenge because you need to spend a lot of time and a lot of attention on them, how exactly they do. You need to give them a mentor. You need to give them a person who they would shadowing. So, and tell the truth, I'm a person who does not have any good solution for this, except recommended just keep more attention on them. Because if you will not do this in 4 or 5 months, or you will fire them, or they will left you because they don't get nothing from your team. So on what, let's say, usually when I hire the remote people, I take attention on that they should be transparent, they should be good in communications, they should be self-organized, have a good time management skills. But I also asking them, how do they organize the day? What does your workplace looks like? Because people needs to have a good workplace. If they're working like living in one bedroom room with this big family who will be interrupt them from the work process is not sounds good and not good for productivities. I also asking them if they have any hobbies of interest, because the hobbies is something what help remote workers keep the life and work balance. I'm personally where I work remotely a lot. I have a hobbies, and I still have it. So behind the family, I did a lot of sport. I running, I swimming. It helps me, first of all, take away from work duties to make some break. It helps me to communicate with other people because I train in a team. And I also take a part in some different race, running race, swim through Bosphore. I communicate with many, many people. It really helps me. And I'm looking, when I'm searching for people, I'm also looking something common in them. It's really important. And as any company, the company starts from culture. Even if you build the big global team, culture is still very, very important for you. Because culture, company culture, is something what builds relationships between team members. People not only working for money, most of people working for some idea. They need to understand that what they do is important. It could be anything. It could be like follow your dream, or make the world better, make the world safe, help your customers to grow. They need to feel that behind the process they have some idea. And this should be everywhere. It should be how you communicate. It should be in how you work with people, like everywhere. And next point, I'm going to the documentation. Why I put this like in on the first place? Because when you onboard people, the first what they see, of course they see you, but then they see documentations. If they want to have, because you don't have any people who can tell people on the daily basis what exactly you do, how you do. You need to keep all information what just possible in some, I don't know, wiki, or documents, Confluence, everywhere what is good for you. You should keep information about projects. You should keep agendas from all team meetings. So this way, remote people should know what exactly you're talking about on these meetings if they miss it. You should, and actually it's a better way, if you do meetings, do record it and then provide the access for everybody. You should keep all company information and like everything, photos from your meetings. So when you get a new person, you take it on board, they should feel from the start that they're part of something big. They're not some standalone unit, but they're a part of the team who have a history, who have values, and this all should be kept in some one place and be with easy access to everyone. As I mentioned in the beginning, the remote team it's about the process. The remote team should build a really clear and strong processes of communication and collaboration. What you need to be sure that when you work with people remotely, you need to be sure that all your communication is clear. Just double check, ask them a lot of questions, find a way the communication which work for each person, because each person could have their own way how they understand information, how they get information. Choose the right communication channels for different information. And what I would mention, when we speak about the process, I like to call them habits. Because the process, it's like something like on corporation level. But for people, if you wanted that your processes will work, you need to grow it as a habit, one by one, to each person. Check, double check. So at the end, the people will not thinking what they have in documents, what they need to follow. It should be a habit. Like we wake up and clean our teeth, it's become a habit because we do this all the time. Same way, all corporate procedures should be growing inside the company. Let's say what exactly we have what tools we have for communications. Because it's one of the common questions which I saw in the team. What they can use, why they can use it, and how exactly this should be used. Instant messages like a Slack, it's better thinking about this as like a mimic driving by conversation, people enjoying the office. It's just day-to-day talk. I know that a lot of companies use it for some big discussions. I personally don't think that it's really a good idea because many people just lost in corporate chats, specifically in the global channels when a lot of information could come in a short period of time. So what I could recommend it for leaders is use it for proactive communications. Just ask your team members how everything going, or how the day was. Just do proactive. It's like you do chat. When you came in the office, you say hello to your coworkers. You're asking how they're doing, how their family. And you can use Slack for the same. Don't overuse it, but still. You can also support communications between team members using this tool. And again, it's for building better relationships between team members. And also, to make the good process for using this instant messages like Slack, you need to have specific productive habits. You should teach people how to update their statuses. So when they work in the focus mode, they should set up correct statuses. So the message will not come in the moment when they're in focus mode. They should update their time zone, specifically for team who work globally, so the team members would know when exactly they could communicate with a person, where they cannot work with team. Same about statuses like vacation time and all others. And as managers, you should also find the really good balance between how you should communicate. Because I saw some managers which use Slack for everything. So they just send all messages all day long to the Slack. They want to check status of the project. Instead of going to the collaboration tools, they go to the Slack and asking the questions. They want to ask something about what they don't even know about what they want to ask, and they go to Slack and asking the question. And for people, it becomes like nightmare because they get like this blim, 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 blim all day long. So my recommendations, if you don't know, if you have a lot of questions, or these questions asking for preparation, just create email and send email, and your employee will be grateful to you. Next communication channels is, of course, emails. I recommend to use emails to send files, corporate memos, and all other important information or documentations, which in future you need to reference later. If to compare this with office reality, I would say this is something like paper documentations. You can exchange it, you can copy, you can forward it, you can archive it, which is really hard to do with instant messaging. Phone and video conferencing. I move it in the separate slide because phone and video conferences is very, very important for remote workers. Do you know how many information people take from words as is? Any suggestions? 90, 80, 50? 50. Any suggestions? Ryan? No. Just 10% of communications came from words. Almost 60% came from body language and face. And 30% came from voice. How exactly you present information, how you tell in words. But only 10% came from words as is. It's why everywhere when you need to discuss something, when you need to tell important information for your team, use a video conference. It helps team to become close. If you tell some important information, look on their faces, how they reacted on this. People could tell you, yeah, we're okay with this, but their faces could tell you absolutely different things. It's why sometimes I really don't like that most of the video tools, video conference software doesn't give you rights to switch between team members to choose specific screen to see their emotions. It's also really good to observe how exactly your team react on other team communications. So this way you can observe the team mood. Yes, it needs a little bit observing, it needs something to learn, but trust me, this is really, really powerful tool. And also, small tip, you know that when usually the conference started, video conference started, people came like 5 minutes later, and you have time, and I know that many people just mute the conference till the moment when they're ready to start. Don't do this. Just give people a chance, a little bit chatting between each others, to share some not out of work questions, and same do after they talk. Scheduling. Again, if you work with remote teams, it's really hard to understand how exactly people works, what they schedule. It's specific for company who provide people to work in flexible time. If you work with different countries, it could be different holidays. So you can use tools like Google Calendar to indicate who is on place, who is on vacations, who is ready for meetings, and at what time. Collaboration tools. It's many tools on the market. So I will not take a specific attention on what exactly to use because it's up to you. You can use Trello, you can use Jira, Asana, Azure DevOps, Basecamp, Redmine, doesn't matter. It's dependent on what you prefer, what do you believe your company will be, how big your company will be in future. If you have small company, Trello will be perfect choice for you. If you will growing, you need to get more information about your team, probably you will need to spend some time and set up Jira for you. I'm personally a Jira guy, but I tell you that when we integrate Jira to our team, it takes time. It takes about 6 or 8 months to set up workflow, to set up all habits for a team to use it. Again, I mentioned habits because to make people use these tools right, they need to have this on habits level, how they update the statuses for the tickets, how they update the estimates. They need to learn all of this. And in most of the cases, people don't do this. So as a managers, you need to take their specific attention on some moment. I have reports, for example, I have reports how many tickets misestimate. Who is good in this, who is bad on this? How many tickets was updated with statuses in good time? What people good in this, what people not good in this? And using all these reports, I just help team to grow this habit and do this well. Don't expect that it will be fast. Just make a small goals, like in 3 weeks or in 1 month, 90% of our tasks will have estimates like in 1 day after the putting in Jira. Just step by step. Set clear metrics for success. Again, one of the common questions which came to people who manage remote team is how you should measure remote people. Truth is, well, how you measure people in the office? It's same. There's no difference between measuring people in office and remotely. For some reason, we have stereotype pictures, most managers have stereotyped pictures that people who work remotely, they just stay on the couch with laptop and don't do nothing. But this is not true because based again on studies and my personal experience, people who work remotely, they actually submit for 4 hours more per week than their colleagues in office. It's actually even become really big issue for them because they don't have borders, like the time borders, which their colleagues have. So just see what results they deliver to you. If they do something like out of estimate, which they give it to you in the task, you don't need to punish them that they missed the estimate. You just need to understand why exactly this happened, what issues they had. And in the future, if estimate was not good enough, just increase it. What we did, again, I helped my team do estimate better by giving them the process of error, how good the estimate was. So each time when they did on monthly base, I give them the percent, what corrections they need to do for their future estimate to be more precisely. So for example, they give it 4 hours for task, but in real, this task was done in 6. So I tell them in next time, just double time, or just give a 50%. And in most common, you will be right. Because we are humans, and if you're professional, if you're ambitional professionals, you always try to give the less estimate as possible. And for remote people, you usually hire the ambition people. So this is a common issue, and you need to help people to fight with this. Meetings. When you talk with other people about remote employees or working without offices, you can hear opinions that you don't need meetings. Meetings is like not needed. I don't think that it's right. You still need to have meetings. In my practice, we use daily stand-ups. It's like in classic Scrum. What is important in this is just follow the advice. Don't make it too long. 15 minutes. If you do longer, it's something wrong. Or your team size is a little bigger than needed. Or you take attention, or you discuss something what is not related to update. But it's, again, if you work with Scrum, you should know about this. One-to-one meeting. One-to-one meeting is meeting between leader and his employee and team member. This is very important because this is what gives the transparency in your team. It's where you can feel other people. It's why very important for one-to-one meetings, use a video conference. This way, you can see all emotions of people. You can sort of feel empathy to the person. And you need to ask questions like, how they feel, how everything going. Not only talk about the work process, you should ask in everything what happened, how they feel about work, how they feel about other team members, how they feel about processes, what they feeling about you. Is it your style is good or bad? If they visit offices, ask them, is it enough for them? How many times they want to visit office? Maybe they should want to visit it more often. Because one of the also common issue with remote workers that sometimes they feel lonely. You walk alone, yeah, you could have family, but a lot of people living in the big cities where there's no friends, specifically it's come with when you become older. So you need to feel them. And if you will see any issues, you need to find solutions how you can help people. For example, if people feel lonely, you can advise them start working from co-working, at least for a couple of days a week. At least this way they will feel people around them, some energy around them, and it will help fight with loneliness. Monthly meetings, usually it's global meetings where all people came and discuss targets, projects which we done during the months, new goals, new ideas, presenting a new people. Special events. Special events could be like knowledge sharing. You can create like on weekly base, on monthly base, or bi-weekly base event where the people could present themselves, they present what exactly they did, what the projects they did, what new knowledge they get. It's also really nice, I would say, tool to build a relationship in a team, to involve them to be a part of the team. And in-person team meetings. So when you have remote workers or satellite office, it's really nice just came all together, like maybe once a quarter or twice in a year, in one place, and just work together. Just talk. So when we work with Western Europe, we have office in Western Europe. I came to each half year, and we get all our remote employees from all regions in one office. We work together. At evening, we go somewhere to bowling or anything else, just to be together. And it was really great feeling, and everybody just waiting for this meeting, because we get a lot of energy that was enough for 6 months. So you need to use it. And of course, as a manager, as a leader, you need help your team to be close to each other. Studies show that the most strong relationships people build or university or on work. Again, as I mentioned, remote people does not have it. They don't have office. So they need to learn how they can build relationships on distance. Help them to organize random communications between team members. You can do this by yourself, or you can use special tools. This is actually icons from the Slack extension called Donuts, which automatically connect people who does not speak with each other too often. So it's automatically check and invite people to direct chat just to talk about something not related to work. How are you? What are you doing? How are your family? Send people on the same local conference. It's also a good way to communicate them. Just give the remote people, find the local conference, and send them together to be on the same place. Give them a way to speak not only about work. You can create, like in Slack, create just something like book club. Discuss what books they read in last months, or create something like TV shows and asking what last TV shows they watched. It's also good. And again, don't only speak about work on your global meetings. Give them a chance to speak about the families, because it's something what make our close. Yesterday on the VIP meeting, what we discussed, one of the topics was we discussed children's. It's always a good topic to forget to build relationships. Yeah, I know that it's a little bit could be annoying for people who doesn't have a children's yet. Sorry, guys. I have 10 and 3 years old sons. Build career path for your remote team members. This is very important if you have hybrid teams, because again, the people who work remotely usually promote less than people who work in the office, because they don't so visible for the managers. And it's where actually you can use the big guys practice who have this as like a part of their processes. For example, in DuPont, I have a process called EPP. It's individual performance plan. So at the beginning of each year, your manager builds with your plan. What exactly you need to do, what goals you need to reach during the year. It could be projects. Then it's check what you need to develop in yourself, what new technology you need to learn, what new knowledge you need to get. And you build everything, you confirm this, and then during the year, you just check how everything going, and manager help you to reach the specific goals. It's really help. Build trust. Trust is everything for remote team. Again, in office, you see people. You see this in personal. You see that they exist, they are real. For remote team, is not so clear. They're far from you. They don't know if you will exist tomorrow or anything happens. So you need to be very clear with what you tell them, what you promise them. And it should start like from the onboarding process and go through all communications for all the time which team or team member work for you. Multiculture and international teams is actually next level of complexity. Why? If you hire people from different countries, you meet with next issues. First of all, it's a language barrier. If you work with not English native speakers, you need to try use less culture reference and less metaphors. I know that it's really hard to do this, and many people actually cannot do this. But if you, one of these people, just try to ask your team if they understand you. If they don't understand you and what you're saying is don't really clear for them, try to explain what you mean. Try to move it, transform this to education process. People like to educate, people like to absorb a new knowledge, and it will be a good move to do this. Next one is a culture difference. We're all people, but we all grow in different social norms, in different culture. And culture is something what was affected on us from the day one. What affected us in kindergarten, in a school, in university, on our first workplace. And if you're working with other countries, you can find that their culture could be different from what you do. And knowing how you look in the eyes of other people and knowing the culture of other people could make your life easier. You can build a more transparent relationship with other people. As example, for people from Western Europe, for a long time when it was USSR, communism existed, one of the topics was that the Communist Party doesn't like individual people. They like that all people will be the same. And one of the bad habits from their side, they thought that any people who not like others, people who do some initiatives, or proactive, potentially it could be punished. So many people from the Western Europe are actually afraid to be proactive. So even if you have some managers from Western Europe and they know the project, they know some problem, they will not do nothing before they get some approvals from you. If we take some issues with, if you work with India, they still have really strong caste influence. If you work with a team, you can find yourself that only one person, you can work with a big team, but only one person in the team will be answering your questions. If you're feeling this way, if you met this issue, what you will need to do, you just need to push, you need to communicate one by one to give them way to speak. And in this way, you actually can find very good results. I'm personally, what I met, for a long time I worked with people from Germany. And what culture difference I met, that they're always asking me a lot of questions about what I do, in details, like in small details. And I feel like, for me, it was like lack of trust, because, hey, you hired me for doing the job. I know that you're not a specialist in these questions. Why are you asking all these questions? It doesn't have any sense. And then I found it. The reason of this is actually in German school, who teach them to disassemble it everything from top to the bottom. They need to know all these details. It's part of the culture code. I couldn't say that it's make my life like less easy. I still sometimes could be a little bit mad in my head, but at least it's explain all these behaviors. And this is not actually lack of trust, but this is just a culture difference. Work around culture customs. What I mean by this, it's you need to know about some specific culture in specific countries. It could be holidays. You need to understand if you're working for people from other countries, what the holidays they have. You know that Russia have like 10 days of holidays, New Year holidays. So almost for 2 weeks, whole country does not work. So you will not reach nobody almost. Same about the beginning of May. Same about the Christmas. The US and many countries in Europe celebrate Christmas at December 25. Countries like Ukraine, Russia celebrate of January 7. So all this difference needs to know, and work hours. It's all very important to work with remote teams. Avoid creating unofficial divisions. So, most of this is about, don't talk about politics on the work. Know what exactly happened in the countries where you work with, because it's really important to know what's happened, and it's also important to calculate the risks. So, for example, when we have an office in Western Europe, in Ukraine, to be precisely, in 2016, we did a lot to calculate risks, what we will do if something happened, and we could potentially lose the office, and did a lot of work to work with these risks. Treat remote workers with respect. What I mean by this? It shouldn't be mentioned, actually. But again, I saw this issue with some leadership, with some confluence. Some people actually rate people by country where they're living. If you hire people, talent people, from other countries, don't need to think that they will be cheap. They will be agree for cheap salary. It's not. The international talent will expect international salary. You actually will be surprised how big the salaries they would like to have. But at times it happened. Some managers thinking that if people came from the country where the average salary is like $300, they will work all months for this specific salary. But it's also become complicated because on the beginning of their careers, they're actually okay to work on this low salary. But the difference between junior level and senior level could be like 10 or 50 times in these countries, and the salary could grow like jumping, like $300, $1,000, $2,000, $4,000. And for many managers from the countries where they have different economics, it's really hard to understand this. They're saying, hey, we don't have such big salary growing in US. Why they should have it? Don't let them work too much. Yes, this has happened with remote workers. Because when you're in office, you always have borders. You came at 10, you leave at 6. You have borders. Remote workers does not have these borders, and they could work potentially all day long. So you need to be precisely how much hours they submit to your system, how much hours is spent to work. And if you see that they work too much, you need to take the attention on this during your one-to-one calls. Ask them to relax, to take their time or maybe vacation, just to relax, because it's much easier to prevent burnout that fight with when it's already happened. In most of the cases, actually, burnout ended, or you fire a person, or person just leave you. Yeah, I believe that's all what I want to say today. But I'm ready to answer on any questions. Yeah.
So I don't remember you mentioning this, but your team in particular, what kind of like remote team are you guys? Are you hybrid? Are you fully distributed?
Full distributed.
And you've always been that way?
Yeah, always was this way, because it was only actually originally was only one person in US, and almost in other team. Actually, no, we have a satellite team because so we have an office in Ukraine, a couple of persons who work remotely in US, and a couple of persons who work remotely in the countries on Europe countries. So I know all the types of teams, and I have experience working in all these teams.
So what would you say is like the biggest mistake you guys have made, or a couple of mistakes you've made from having a remote team point of view? Like, what is the biggest thing that you guys did that you're like, oh, that was not a good idea?
It's actually one of the biggest mistakes. What I'm thinking about what was done is for myself, the mistake was don't let them work too much, because I don't have manager who did this job for me, and I work too much and I burn out at the end. So I know that by myself. For other people's, what was done well, it was again the salary questions, because even if I report to management that it's actually wrong strategy, what what was done. I really feel sad about missing some of my employees because of this, because I grow very good, strong team from like basic, from juniors. We was lucky to find some brilliants who work for us for a long time, not just for money, but because of idea, because personal influence. But at the end, unfortunately, they leave, and they like jumping was hired by companies like Oracle for 4 times more salary. So this is probably what I feel sad about. Anybody else have some questions? Yeah, and I will tell you one more thing about transparency, to be transparent with your team and have more attention to your team members based on my own experience. So I started one of my first years in career was in DuPont. I working for DuPont for 9 years almost. And I work in Moscow office. I was responsible for EMEA region, Eastern Europe and South Africa. I was business application analyst and working with ERP and CRM optimization. I working with SAP. I work in a small team of 2 persons. Did the custom solutions where the global team was not able to do optimizations, do many small items. And my manager was remote. And one day he actually came, and he came to our Moscow office, and he talked with me like face to face, asking me what I'm doing in person. We didn't have before many calls, and he was really surprised about what I did for the company, because I did a lot of custom solutions, which actually saved $100,000 for the company. But my mistake was that, first of all, I didn't thought that I'd do something important. I just saw the problem, and I give solutions. I saw the problems that CSR team spent a lot of time on some routine operations, and I just did automatization for this. And the second issue was that actually I shame of my language. I didn't like to communicate. I didn't like my emails, write emails on English. So I asked my coworker to write it, and he wrote it as part of the team. So I was like invisible for my management. And when he came to the office, he actually, it was in period when DuPont did the cost savings. By cost savings means we a little bit hire people, specifically for my IT department. And I was on list for firing. And if he will not came to office, I would be most probably fired. But after our personal communications, this manager became one of my biggest supporter for next years, for next like 2 years, as he was my manager. And when after like 6 years after that, I decided to leave company because I decided that I need to grow up, I need to do something else, something different. He actually even called me to be sure that I leave by myself, that I was not pushed outside of the company. So it was my decision. And it was like one of the greatest managers which I have, really, yeah. But again, this is demonstrate how carefully you will need to be with your employee, with people who work for you, to understand why exactly they not writing you in details in the chat or in emails, don't answer you in details what exactly they do. Does it they really don't do nothing? Or if they're working from non-English speaking countries, they're just ashamed to write something. It's just a little bit personal experience. So if you will have any questions about this topic, feel free to catch me. I will be here till tomorrow evening. About offices in West of Europe and just remote offices. I really will be glad to share this knowledge.